Welcome again, everybody, to Broadcast Team Alpha, where we bring you cutting edge conversation while exploring the quantum, seriously quantum tonight, possibilities. We have a fascinating guest that Augie's going to tell you about. But first, I'd like to thank you for being here. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your super chats. Thank you for the lively conversation and questions that go on in the chat room. And I want to invite you to a couple of things that are happening. We have the new YouTube membership group. The membership group, I don't know what commercial that was. It was like membership has privilege. So it's kind of that. You kind of get to come backstage with us, if you will, behind the scenes, have Zoom meetings with Augie and I to talk about any topic you'd really like to talk about. There are a couple of things Augie and I want to test drive before we bring it to the mainstream public. So that forum would be where we would do that. And we would also, we actually had one of the most amazing psychics come on and give our exclusive members mini readings I guess Thursday it was. So Mac will put the link in the chat. If you'd like to join us, we would love to have you. And I'd like to invite you to the Mastermind Connection. It's like a spiritual think tank, if you will. It's like spiritual law of attraction, where we get together and we intend for amazing manifestations. They're usually humanitarian and benevolent, for the world, for the awakening to unfold a little more comfortably for people, for disclosure to maybe be a little bit faster, for peace during this time, and for all other kinds of healings. So it's Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern. At 3 o'clock, we have an open discussion. That's always lively, or sometimes we watch a video together. So if you think you'd like to check it out, you can send an email to the mastermindconnection@gmail.com, the mastermindconnection@gmail.com. And I hope to see you there. And so too there, we have special events that happen. We had that same psychic come and talk to our Sunday group. And, if you're looking for a community, if you're kind of looking for your tribe and you're kind of like-minded with the things that we talk about here, I really encourage you to join us. So Augie, please tell us about our guest.
Yes, I've been looking forward to this one. This is going to be so much fun and interesting and a lot to learn. We have Dolly Safran with us. And she have a very interesting story. She started her journey as what we would call a generational contactee, because also her father was a contactee. And how things usually go, chances are that maybe his father and back in history, they have also been contacted, because they kind of seems to follow bloodlines or DNA lines, maybe I should say. From a young girl, though, she actually was disappearing from the house from time to time. At great dismay for her mom, she also had unseen friends with her and psychic experience that could not be explained. And growing up, she got into nursing. She worked for the U.S. Treasury. She worked for the Department of Defense, all alongside being visited, working with and taught by extraterrestrials. And that was both on and off their ships. Now, much insight was gained from this, and we will hear some of that today for the next 55 minutes. And we're going to hear about the understanding of spirituality among the extraterrestrials. We're going to hear about the technology of the ships, maybe how they fly, how they travel. And if we get time, we can get into the universe a little bit. What is this thing that we're living here? Is it just a hallucination, or is it something real? There's a lot of discussions about that out there. So if you like what you hear, please subscribe. And also click that little bell next to the subscribe button so you can get a notification when the next video or show comes out. And also engage the super chat if you like what you hear, because it tells us we are doing the right thing, and we surely appreciate it. So, welcome to the show, Dolly.
Welcome, Dolly.
Hi. Thank you, and I'm glad to be here, and thank you for having me.
That's wonderful. So, Dolly, I'm so intrigued already. Take us back to the beginning, if you will. How did this all come about for you?
Well, if you go all the way back to the beginning, before I was born, my mother had polycystic ovarian syndrome, and she was 6 years married to my father and no babies. And my father was in the Army, and he allowed her to be treated in a program where they used cobalt radiation on her ovaries and her pituitary gland to get her pregnant. And they did 3 treatments, and it was about 50,000 roentgens of cobalt. They told her, don't get pregnant for a year. And unfortunately, the third treatment happened, and a week after that, I was conceived. Everybody was very nervous about what was going on. And I managed to be born at 9 months, almost exactly. The interesting thing about my birth is that when I was born, they know I was a identical twin, and I had a missing twin. There was an umbilical cord and no baby besides me. Wow. And so that was the first heads up to everybody, something's up. I was less than 5 pounds when I was born, and looked different. And I had little pointed ears, and I had cobalt black hair. And this freaked my mother out because she didn't expect that at all. And she was asleep when I was born mostly, so she freaked when she saw me. And I think that was the first disconnect for her. My mother, as I was growing up, told me of her experiences as a child, and we've come to the conclusion that she was also an experiencer, but she rejected it. It scared her. She saw my father being in the government as a threat, and she was very protective of me. My first experience was at 10 months. I was already walking, and I could talk somewhat by then. And I was napping and in my crib in daylight, noon, and I saw through the window, the levelor window. They were metal in those days. The big light came in, and I was staring at it. And the next thing I know, I'm floating up in my crib, and I started to freak out. And when I got to the top of the rail, that terrified me, and I tried to flip over and go back down. I was pulling myself down, and that's my memory went after that. I don't remember, but it was so traumatic. It never left me, that particular part of the memory. And it just went from there. I'm telekinetic. I was levitating and doing strange things in the house. When my mother was pregnant with my brother, I was about 2.5. And she was very heavily pregnant with him, and I disappeared during nap time again. It was so bad. The house was all locked up, everything. There's no way I could have got out of that house. And they had to call the police. They called my father. They went all over the neighborhoods looking for me. They finally, a couple hours later, they got a call, and they ran to this little store. It's called Utotem in Miami on Miller Road. And it's about 6 miles from where we were living at the time. And I was sitting on the counter, and I was really upset. And my memory of that is that I went somewhere with someone, and they told me if I was a good girl that I would get a red balloon. And I thought, ooh, I love red balloons. And I was mad because he didn't give me one. And then I got even madder that my mother didn't give me one. And the police came, and my parents were taken to be spoken to. They were trying to figure out how this happened. My feet weren't hurt at all. I was barefoot. I only had undies. And after that, they changed all the locks, all the windows, and they got a retired police dog. Her name was Heidi. And that didn't help the situation because Heidi would go with me after that. They would take her too.
Oh, my goodness.
And,
wow.
I have memories of this as dreams. My mother was very determined for me not to be totally involved in my mind with it. And she would tell me, oh, it's just a dream, don't worry about it. You have very vivid imagination. And as I got older, she became a lot more stern about it with me. And so I grew up thinking look, I'm having these experiences, and either she's right and I'm a little crazy, or it's happening to me. And I decided that was it. When I was 14, I was going to remember. I did everything that I could think to do to prep myself for that. I worked on my memory. I worked on meditating. I did everything to stay calm, because it's very unbelievably unique experiences when they happen to you, you know? And
Yes.
I was taking astronomy. I love astronomy in the Miami-Dade Transit Planetarium in Miami. That's where I went to class.
Nice.
And I was in the backyard with my telescope. It's 1:00 in the morning on a school night, and my father's like, "Go to bed." So I packed down and got in my jammies, and I don't really sleep a lot. And I sat by my window looking out, because Orion was up that night. I love Orion. And I started to see stars in the sky. And I thought, wait a minute, those aren't stars. There was about 100 lights, and they were moving around, and they paired off into twos. And some went east and west and north and south. And two of the pairs came down over our area, and one of them went over to the east of where we were. It was like in Kendall near Dadeland Mall.
Yes.
And the other came down over where we lived, over the back of our house. And I have a big tree in my backyard by my window. And I was memorizing, because in my mind at that moment, I knew this is it. Here it is, no turning back. And I memorized it. It changed color as it came into the atmosphere, and then it finally turned metallic, and it hung over us at about 500 to 600 feet for about, 5-10 minutes, just hovering there. And then it came down the rest of the way. And when it got to the tree line in the back of our house, the tree started whipping around wildly, but I couldn't hear anything. And I was like, oh my God. And I was staring at it, and I was memorizing it. I mean, I was going to know this, this craft. I knew it wasn't anything of ours, because I'm into airplanes and flying and everything. And I was like, oh my God. And when I got up to the ports, I saw two beings and two of the front, and then it came down the rest of the way. And when it got to the line in the back, it was bad. That scared me. Okay, I thought, oh my God, but I couldn't hear anything. And I turned. And I was, where do you go in your bedroom in the middle of the night? I was going to dive under my bed. I was a kid. And I froze, and a blue-white light flash hit my room, and then boop, my memory went. And I woke up on the floor hours later. I could hear my mother in the kitchen making breakfast for my father, who left every day at 5:30. And I was wearing not my pajamas anymore. They were inside out, backwards, and I felt gross. I didn't feel good. And I'm thinking, oh my God. I had to go to school that day, so I went and got showered, I put the clothes in a bag, and I went in the kitchen. And I'm trying to talk to my mother. This is the most important moment of my life, okay? And I want to talk to her about it. I need to get it out. And she whirled on me and said, no, nothing, no talk. The radio was on. It was, what's his face? Anyways, a guy used to be on all the time, and the news came on. And the first thing out of the announcer's mouth was, 2 Dadeland police officers saw UFO last night, and they described it perfectly. I nearly lost my mind. I started jumping up and down. I was practically screaming, oh my God, it's real, it's real. I tried to tell you it's real. And she whirled on me again and said, get out of my kitchen now. And I, dejected, I got up and I went running out the door, and I ran right into my father. And he said, you are over the top, calm down. He said, just go relax, go calm down, meditate. And I took the only place in the house that's private. This is the bathroom. I locked the door. I sunk to the floor, turned the light out, and I thought, how do I do this? I knew I was going to remember. I could feel it, but I didn't know how. And I thought, okay, just replay the whole thing. I have an eidetic memory mostly, and so I replayed the whole thing, like tick, 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 all the way down to that moment when the light blew, and that's when my head exploded. I felt, I instantly got a migraine. The room flashed before my eyes, and I knew what had happened. I mean, all of it. And it made me sick again, because I got sick that night too. What happened is, when that room flashed white light, blue white light, I saw a beam come down through the roof in my room. And this, I can only describe it as an energy ribbon is what it is. And these two beings came down the ribbon into my room. And one of them took me by the hand and put my hand on top of his. And he put my hand on top of that ribbon, and then suddenly the whole room became opaque. I could still see it, but it was opaque, white, and I felt funny. I got sick to my stomach from it. And we went up, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to die because we're going for the ceiling. And we went through it, and then we went through the tree. And then I saw the craft, and a port opened up on the side of it. And I thought, what? And the ribbon went alongside the craft, not in it. And when he got me to the point where my feet were just above the opening, he shoved me in, and I landed on my butt. And it went from there. I saw this woman to my left, and I realized who she was. I remember her from my childhood. I knew who she was. And I threw up all over myself. I mean, I just let it go. And they cleaned me. It took me and got me cleaned up. They gave me something to wear. It was a smock. And they decontaminated me and took me back to her. And I call her Mama. I'm actually related to her somehow. I've known that my whole life. I have some of her DNA. And she told me she was proud of me. Good job, and they were all excited. And I'm like thinking, oh my God, because all my memories are floating around. I knew exactly who she was. I looked around and I knew exactly where I was. I knew. And I started to get sick again. I was whirling. I started shaking. I was going into shock. And she told the two Greys, their AI, take her, walk her, get her off her butt, get her, walk her around. And they walked me around the craft and showed me my quarters. I had a room on this craft, and I saw my brush that I lost. Aww. And I was like, oh my God. And one of them came back, had left and come back with a drink for me, and that helped me a lot. And once I stopped shaking and I was like, okay, all right, I know where I am. I know what's going on. They took me back to her. And the next thing I know, I can hear in my mind, Talata, he is the craft. All their ships are somewhat biological. They have to be, because they're indwelled by beings who live in the fifth dimension. They run them, all of them. And
how old were you when all this happened?
14 years old.
14.
Yeah. And that was a...
Can I interrupt?
Very impressional age.
Sure. Very.
You said that you liked planes and flying.
Yes.
Did you ever fly a plane, or?
I was going to learn. I was in the process of learning how to fly. I had two uncles who were pilots, and so I was, learning to fly a Cessna. I was doing ground school, and I had already been up a few times, and they put me, I took the stick, and I was learning basic things, and but I was at the beginning stages of it. I just loved it. My father could fly gliders. He was glider rated, and so I grew up hearing about this, and we used to go to airports and on bases and watch. I saw my first Harrier jet when I was about 12. That impressed the hell out of me. And I mean, I love jets. I love the space. My father worked for NASA as well. And he was in the space shuttle program. The booster rockets that fall away, he designed, helped with the chute development. And he was one of I think there were 6 architects who designed all the chute packing plants for these things, because they come back and they redo them and they send them back up. So I was always going to NASA with them. And he had another office in St. Augustine. And so I love anything to do with space. I love astronomy, all of it. So that's what I wanted.
Thank you. And I didn't mean to I didn't want to derail you,
okay.
But let's go back. You were 14 and you found your brush, right?
Yeah.
What happened
They took me back up to where Mama was. You would call it the helm, okay? But they don't call it that. They called it the place of movement. That's how they think about it. And sat me down, and Talata started talking to me. He said, hey, kiddo, you remember me now? I'm like, yes. And he said, I'm proud of you. We need to have a talk. You're here for that. And he said, we're going to go over many things, but first I want to take you for a ride. And I was like, oh my God, I get to go for a ride. And he handed me this instrument. It's like a wand, but not a wand, like you would think of a wand. And it was about, 12 inches, 13 inches long, and it was metal. And he said, you have to hold it, and you can psychically join up with me. You can hear me a little bit better, and I can hear you a little bit better, and you can see what I see, feel, and the movement of the ship with me by holding on to this. And I said, okay. And he briefed me a little bit more. He understood that I knew vectoring already. And he said, we're going to go for a ride and this is where we're going. And it took us about a half an hour briefing me what to do. And he said, don't be afraid. I'm right behind you. I'm not going to let you fail. And we took off and we went to Saturn. And
wow.
That was the biggest day of my life.
Wow.
We got to see Saturn.
Wow.
We got to see the moons. We went up through the rings. He showed me the top of Saturn, the north pole of Saturn, which fascinated me because I didn't realize this was going on. I knew it was a gaseous planet. I mean, I was into astronomy, but I did not know that this is a planet that has a vibration that's significant. And at the very top of Saturn, it opens the gases up into almost a chevron, and you can see down in toward the guts of the surface of the planet through all that gas. And it fascinated me. I was just glued to what he was saying and watching it. And I understood why it vibrates the way it does. And just the whole history of this planet and why it was the way it was. And then he said, okay, we're done with that. And we backed away from it. We went out into deep space again. And he said, we're going to go one more place, put the wand down, my ride. And I said, okay. And he took me to the moon. And I love the moon. I'm in astronomy. I'm taking stuff. And we did, like if you did a spirograph of 8 spirals around a round object, that's basically what we did in circumference. And we did what he calls low ride. We were 500 feet above, avoiding things, going up or down. Wow. I got to see the side of the moon. I got to see, they do have a base back there. I got to see other prominences on the moon. I got to see the topography and why it's different colors and the soils and the dust that's on the moon. I got to understand that it's a solid moon. It's not hollow like some people think. I got to see the LEM, the flag, and the rover, which blew my mind. And he said, we're going to land. And if you're facing the moon from North America at the 12 o'clock position, you go to the 11 o'clock, we landed on the rim of our site that we can see the moon at, back to Earth. And when we did, I got to see the Earth in phase, which was, you don't think about that stuff. When you're a kid, you're just learning this. It doesn't dawn on you that Earth has phases from the moon because of the way we are in relationship to the sun and the other planets. And that fascinated me. And they sat me down and everybody got quiet. And he said, what do you want to do with your life? So what are you interested in? Well, at 14, I wanted to do everything. I was already candy striping. I was already on the weekends being a student park ranger in the Everglades. I wanted to be a marine biologist. I wanted to do it all. Okay. But I came, he said, what do you really want to do? And I said, fly. And they knew exactly what I meant. And
what did you say? I didn't hear that.
I want to fly. I want to fly this craft. I want to learn to fly. And, he said, it's not going to be like you're just going to fly the craft like we just did. He said, we have to make sure that you can. And it took him a while to decide whether I was going to be allowed to learn how to fly. And then once they decided that, it took me 4 years after that. I flew first time solo just after my 19th birthday. And
wow.
That was the biggest day of my life. And amazing. I agreed to work with them. I agreed to completely be trained by them in every area that they thought necessary. And I went out on different, trips with them. Some of them were things that they were doing. I was assigned to do things. I learned about their societies. I've been to many different places. I've met many different ethnicities of ET. And I've worked with people here, as a matter of fact, in contact. And that's a whole big thing. And that's how it all started.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And as time went by, did your mother ever, release that stronghold of fear?
No,
or
never.
No,
she was terrified for me. Yeah. I think it all played into the fact that it took her so long to have a baby, and she was somewhat reserved from me. She never really bonded with me, but she wouldn't relinquish motherhood to me. Okay. And when my mother was passing away, I finally got my chance to sit and really get her to talk to me. And she said, I understand, why I'm the way with you. And she said, but I wanted you to be okay here. I wanted you to have a life here.
Aw, that's lovely.
Got it.
Yeah.
So,
Did she ever get to the point where she actually totally believed you?
she believed me from the get-go. She knew it was true. It was a kind of a running joke in our family. My abilities were all the time, and it became a running joke. Is that Dolly or what? You know, I mean, I did things all the time. And when I was a young woman in my 20s, she had a couple of friends. She told about it in secret, and they asked if I would, do something for them psychically. And I did. They came to the house, and they both handed me an object, and I tapped them actually, and I read them, and I gave them, what they were looking for.
What did the extraterrestrials actually look like? Except, you mentioned the gray. Were they the little tiny ones, or were they the tall ones?
Okay, the AI grays are very small. They're under 4 feet tall. They're all pretty much the same. They are biological AI. But you can turn them off. They're not autonomous. They have no sentient soul like we do, no consciousness really. But they are so intelligent that they are capable of working, independently, because they're in constant contact, psychically with everybody who's working with them. They are, for a reason, space is a dangerous place. All corporeal beings, third-dimensional beings, are in danger of gamma radiation, and space is the first place you go find it. ET lives on other planets, other worlds that also have magnetospheres like we do, and they're protected. So when they travel, they go to wherever it is they're going, but they immediately go in a magnetosphere. They don't stay in space for long periods of time. If that's required, the AI work that. They do that. They can actually fly craft as well. And they are the worker bees, I guess. When they're not in use, they turn them off. You can stack them up. Okay. So that's them. Then there's a race of, I don't want to say race, it's incorrect. There's an ethnicity of grays. They're very small. They're almost troll, in size, trolls. And They have a bluish tint to the gray in their skin. And they are probably the ones that helped develop the AI, them and the mid-sized grays. Trolls have 5 fingers and toes, like us, very humanoid, very human genomic. We're all human genome throughout the universe. We just dime out differently, DNA dials up differently. The mid-sized grays have 3 fingers, and they use prosthesis on the end of their fingers so they can do manipulative work.
Really?
They developed that over the years, yeah. And they're about 5 feet tall, between 5 and 6 feet tall. Then there are the tall grays, and each one of these ethnicities come from a different star system. And then there's the tall grays. They have 4 fingers. When I was a kid, I used to think I was going to lose my pinkies and my pinky toe. I don't know why I thought that. Now I understand it, because I was in contact with Mom all the time. She only had 4 fingers, They're very tall. Mama's 6'2". She's kind of short, she says, for her group. And they can go almost up to 7 feet. They have no hair. She has great big blue wraparound, blue-green eyes. Most grays are blue-green or blue or gray-eyed. When you see them and they're dark like that, it's because they have a different amount of color rods in their eyes, and they see ultraviolet light as well as infrared, and they have to protect themselves. Our light is so bright to them that they wear lenses over their eyes. That's why everybody thinks that they have black eyes. They do not. They also have a vestigial inner eyelid that's in our eye that you can see the piece of it that would have been there. And she does have the inner eyelid. She can close it at will. And that from where she's at, they need that. High winds, less gravity, things move around a lot, and they have that inner eyelid to protect them. Most of the grays have the inner eyelid. She has very long fingers. Okay.
Did they say anything where they were from?
Yes. Mama, the tall grays, are from Orion. And they're, if you look at Orion's belt, the 3rd star on the right, if you go straight down a little bit angling down, there's a star right there. We also consider that Orion, one of the Orion stars cluster, and they're right in that system right there. There's also them that are then Zeta Reticuli, and there are others that are the Pleiades. People get confused here. They think that there are Pleiadians and Pleiadians. No, there are not. That is a star nursery. It cannot hold life. It is too volatile. It is a giant system, and all it does is create new stars and systems. It spits them out. But if you go through it as the crows fly, there's another system behind that, and that's where they're from. People here want to call it Lyra, and there's another system behind that. And a lot of those that look like us, Asian, Polynesian, they're from back in there, and it's the shorter grays. They're also what you would call, I call, only because you all use the word Lyrans, that's from the systems back there. And they're dark skinned, they have darker eye color, they have black hair, they're Polynesian looking. There are tall white, Nordic looking people, and I'm not at liberty to use their system at all. I tell you where it is. There are those that look like canines, like Horus, or the undergod, the Egyptian undergod. I can't remember. Anyways, they look like them. They're humanoid as well. They have clawed hands and feet. They're very muscular, very big. I've seen Anunnaki. Anunnaki have wings. That was really my first, after the Greys, that was my first contact with anybody else. And I got to see one on a mothership. And they were standing there, and Mama was with them, and I was going back to go to my quarters. I had eaten, and I dropped my jaw. I was fascinated by his wings. They don't look like feathers. It's different. Kind of like hair or feathers. And he looked back at me, and he went, "Come on," and he turned his shoulder toward me like, "Come on, go ahead." And I could hear it in my head, "It's all right, come on, come look." And he let me pet his wing, and he shivered, and I was fascinated. I wanted to grab it and hang on, and he was very sweet to me. And I got it in my head, "It's enough, okay, let go." And Mama was like, "Okay, go," and I did. I obeyed. And but I was looking at him the whole way. I almost ran into something trying to walk away on nonchalant. I didn't do a very good job. I've seen them. Okay.
I have a couple of just earthly questions.
Okay.
Were you drawn to any metaphysical books or anything like that when you were younger?
I was taught by them, and I was not allowed to read too much here. I read scientific journals, astrophysical, mathematics, medical, that kind of thing. That was the sciences. I delved very deeply into the science here as well as there. The metaphysical, they taught me from a very, very small age. I was taught metaphysical things. So.
And if you feel comfortable, somebody in the chat room brought it up. What astrological sign, what zodiac sign were you born under? Can we know?
Taurus.
Taurus.
I'm a Taurus. Yeah, I'll even give you my stats. I was born May the 8th, 1958.
No way.
My daily number is a 4. My soul number is 11, and 22 is the big picture. So I'm a master builder and a creator. And so yeah.
You really are.
Yeah. Aquarius. My moon is in Aquarius. Wait. My moon is in Aquarius, and my rising sign is Sagittarius and Capricorn. I'm on the cusp. So,
wow.
I'm a little crazy. So,
did that teach you
I'm a little bit fearless.
Anything about the structure of the craft or the propulsion system? Yes. Or can you talk about that?
To learn to fly, you have to be able to know what's going on, and I was taught everything. The craft are biological. They are capable of doing many things. They're like cuttlefish. They have light arrays in the skins of the craft that can change. Talada can make him look like anything that's around him. He can totally blend in with anything. He also lights the entire inside of the craft on the skins of the craft, the walls or the ceiling. There are no lights like we know them. There are no electronic devices on craft. There's no such thing like that. They run it all totally psychically. Talada's in control of the craft itself. It's like a body to him. And so he can breathe it bigger or smaller. He can raise or move things around to suit them what they need. He's completely in control of the entire craft itself. They are impenetrable by us. If they don't want you on, you don't get on. And that's seriously happened to, unless a craft that's crashed is cracked open, they've not been able to see inside one. They've got two of them that won't let them in because they're still indwelt and the being in it won't let them. And for them, time is nothing, so he's just waiting it out. And there's going to come a day where they will leave, whether they like it or not. It is they use a gravitational wave energy. It's the highest form of electricity there is, and they burn an element nuclearly in a very small nuclear furnace that sends an electricity that's so huge and so enormous in weight and strength that it produces a graviton wave, and it's shot up through the middle of the craft and it's sent out to waveguides. And the waveguides put a field around the craft, an inner field and an outer field. And the way they fly is when they're out in space, they power up at that point. They're off all their batteries, which they do have, and they go straight to gravitational full force, and they can move it any way they want. Space is full of energy and they can fly freely there. When they come down into an atmosphere, they use the waveguides in the planet, in your magnetospheres. Electricity runs in concurrent ways in different field lines, and they skiff the field lines. If you see a real UFO, you won't see it level like this, okay? It's going to be up like this, and it'll be skiffing. It surfs the electromagnetic field lines. Either positively, it's either pushing against it or pulling away from it, and that's how they fly. And that's why it takes two to do it. Talada's able to fly by himself, but it's better that there's a pilot as well, and especially in atmosphere. And when they come in, they're so hot because they burn plasma around them. They're so hot. They have to tone it down. They have to let that plasma field go away from them because it would kill all of us. They couldn't get near you with that field hot. And so they go to full batteries. And that allows them to approach, get near, cool down enough, to get near humanity and stuff like that. It is... inside the craft itself, there are usually 3 seats, pilot and 2 backup grays, and then there's a bank of a wall in one part of where the helm would be, and that is the heart of the craft, and that's where they're indwelt. Talada indwells inside that panel, and he actually literally indwells it like we indwell our own bodies, and that's how, when we go, the power itself is in the bottom of the craft, and then this circular long tunnel, that conduit that comes up to the waveguides. There's generally 3 on top and 2 on the bottom for the smaller craft, and then the bigger the craft gets, the more waveguides they use. So that's how they fly, and they're equipped. Talada can light anything up any way he wants. The bigger craft usually show gold. Mother craft in our atmosphere look purple, and they're slightly purple. You can see them in the night sky, and there's just different things. Bob Lazar, y'all should believe Bob Lazar is for real. When he started talking and I got to read what he said, I knew instantly he had been with them and studied it, and he knew what he was talking about. So please listen to what he says.
So there is no ceiling full of circuit breakers, then a console between the captain and the co-pilot full of radios, it's just consciousness and...
Right. I'm in a Faraday cage of sorts. The smaller the craft, the more I've got to be in a Faraday cage. The bigger the craft, I have a seat that grounds me out. I have pads beneath my feet that I keep my feet connected to, and I have an implant in my hand that helps initialize. I have you look at hieroglyphs, right? Ancient Anunnaki stuff, Sumerian, Babylonian, and you see the glyphs of them with the purse, and he's holding the pineal gland in his hand. That's a big heads up to y'all. All of the craft, the more I've got to be in a Faraday cage. He's got in it what he needs to fly. And he's also wearing a band around his wrist, and it's like a sundial. That's the implant that I wear, okay? On there, they displayed it like a wrist plant, but it's an implant in my hand. That ball comes out of that purse, and it's about this big, and it has planes all over it. It's like a hexadiagonal, okay? And it looks metal, but it's really weird. It's fluidy kind of. And I initialize it, okay? And it starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger in my hands. And then I lift it up, and there's an arm above my seat, and there's a place, it's a magnetic place, and I lift that ball up to it, and it suspends just underneath it above my head. Inside that ball is a dimensional rift. In other words, it's brought open a dimensional window, a light window. And I throw my consciousness forward into it. Talata's already there, and I become Talata. In other words, we meld together, my mind, his mind, and I'm all of a sudden him. I stop using my own sight, my own hearing, all of it's gone. I'm Talata. I can feel everything he feels. I see everything he sees, which is definitely important. And we get ready and we go. Anytime that I fly, I already know where I'm going. The universe is a big place, and I don't know all of it. Nobody does. But my quadrants where I go, I've been taken to so that I remember, and I have the coordinates in my head. That's where my eidetic memory works the most. I remember certain number sequences. I remember declinations, and I see space differently than most people. I have that 3D image of it in my mind, and I know where it is. And that's why I pilot, because I take us there. We open a huge window of light. It's a dimensional doorway. And when it opens, it's been on film. I've seen a couple of videos where it's actually, I've seen it. Y'all got video of it somewhere, where when it opens, the light's spilling in, not out. That's the real deal. And they go through it. It takes half a second to get to where we're going. And as we go through it, I shut it behind me. If there's a lot of us going through, the last person to go through closes the window. We're all mentally connected to one another. That's why we don't crash in space. That's why we can do the things that we do. Crashing here is a problem because our magnetosphere is going down. It's somewhere around 40% right now. It started about 100 years ago. It's sad to me that they lose craft that way sometimes, but it happens. It's the risk they take to be here and with us. And it just started getting really, really bad. And about 1.5 years or 2 years ago, the decision was made. That's it. And I was told I either go or stay. What was I going to do? And I decided to stay because y'all need to know the truth. You just absolutely need to know the truth. This is a hard place to be. Okay, we're here for a reason. We all decide we're going to be here. This is a proving ground for us. We learn the most physically here than any other places like this. Okay, and it's an imperative. And so I decided that y'all have been messed up for a long time. Y'all have been guided away from who you really are. And I wanted to stand up to it. You know, it's time. Somebody needed to open their mouth, and I stepped forward. Basically, so
wow.
Yeah.
What did they teach you anything about the multiverse? Like maybe we call it the universe, but I think science has figured it out now that there is more than one.
Right. We have this universe, and then in I don't want to call it space because it's not, but here's our universe, and then think next to it, next to it, next to it, next to it, in all directions, in a grid. There are other universes, and it's untold how many there are. It is huge, and that would be the multiverse. We're here, and it would be, I have never been told that I could go to another one, but I know that they're there. Fifth dimensional beings, I think Talata has somewhat explained that to me. It's very complicated. We are all light. All matter is light. You emit an electrical charge, and you're light. All electricity is pure light. And they believe in an all mind. The whole universe is a mind, and all the multiverses. Our autonomy is that we were given autonomy. We are individuals in this giant mind. And our purpose is to come here and become wise. We know everything outside of ourselves. Our consciousness has the grip on everything. It can hear all knowledge all the time. But you experience it physically here, and it makes you wise. And you attain knowledge that you can build on.
Yes.
And we're here until we leave. And how and when that occurs for every individual is up to them. Perfectly up to them. Nobody has a right to impede you, stop you, or anything. We're all interacting together. Also, it's karmic, and people get that a little bit strange sometimes to me. Karma is you deciding how you're going to learn, and what happens to you, what you do to yourself is your karma. And if you mess up, you have to repeal that. You have to go back and revisit it and think about what it is and decide what you're going to do to relearn it another way. That's karma. That's how we evolve.
So we I'm just going to go back from it. We all get to choose when we leave, unless we make a deal with the Illuminati, and then sometimes they choose for us.
That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. You have no master. There's no master on this planet. They like to think they are, but there's no such thing. The Illuminati is a cabal, and they believe that they are the holders of the keys of knowledge, and that's very egotistical of them. All of us are capable of this. All of us have the right to any knowledge that the universe contains. It's very chatty. It talks to everybody all the time. What you're not experiencing is that you're not wide open psychic right now. You've been denied that. They took that from you in a myriad of ways. You should already know these things because you should be wide open psychic. But since you're not, they feel like they can master you, and they do. Right. You have to give up their ownership of you. You have to tell them, no, we're done, and go live your life.
Absolutely. I have two questions.
Okay.
One is, what do they believe spiritually? And the other one, this is kind of diametrically opposed, maybe. Do they have sex the same way that we humans?
Yes. Yeah, they have genes. They have DNA. All beings in the universe, if you're alive, you have DNA. If you're sentient, you have DNA. Trees have DNA. Animals have DNA. We're all related to one another. We are all one great big happy family. All sentient beings are alive. And to be alive in the third dimension means you have to use DNA to be here. It physically grounds you here, and it gives you a place to indwell while you're here to learn. Your body is a temporary thing. What you do have holding you to the body is I like to use this word. I studied Krishna when I was really young, and so it stuck with me. It's prana. Okay, it's an energy. It's like a key that locks your DNA and your essence into your body. It holds you in. When you OBE, that energy stretches itself out, and you see it like a silver cord, but that's still the prana grounding you back to your body. It does not release you until you are done here and you leave. And then your body deteriorates and releases your prana, and your prana goes back to you on the other side. So there are three things going on. You have a consciousness, you have a spiritual body, which is the prana that you're indwelling in here, and then your physical body, which is to hold you here in this place. Yes. So it's all threes. It goes with the sophologia, 369, that kind of thing. Yeah. And these numbers matter. And it's the design of the all mind for us to be here and use this place.
And then spiritually, Dolly, what's that like? What's that?
I live in a soup of energy that's unbelievable, and I'm very grateful to be aware. It's the greatest. I want to say gift, but it goes beyond that. It encompasses everything about my existence, and I get to see everything, and I get to understand a lot in ways that make me cry or elevate me or make me want more. I mean, it's a constant flow into me that I'm constantly striving to add to the wisdom of what I understand and what I know. I also know that when I do leave here, I have someplace else to go where I will begin anew in a new dimensional space where I can start learning from that vantage point. And eventually I might get a chance to talk to the All Mind, one-on-one. That would be cool. And then after that, maybe I leave this universe and go to another universe and start a new existence as something else. It's always upward. Okay. We're at one of the lowest levels. There's one below us. We live in a 12-dimensional space in our universe. We're in the hard third dimensional space. We're gravity heavy. All our molecules are dense. If you jump off a cliff, you're going to go splat. It's going to hurt you. That's hard reality. It is reality. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's reality. There's a second dimensional space, a first dimensional space, third, fourth, fifth, all the way up to the 12th. If you make it to the 12th, you're out of here. You get to go to the next universe and go again. That's what I was taught. And there's a maturity to it.
Yeah. So they have probably outgrown the concept that religion calls God and understand the universal mind or consciousness as the source of all things, which probably should be called God. What do they know? What do they?
They understand that existence itself is alive. Existence itself has its own mind. Existence itself is the ultimate parent of all of us. We're part of it. And we are charged with autonomy. In other words, we're given free will. So we take ourselves away from it to exist on our own independently of it. We don't worship it, but we exist with it. And we know that if we need help, it's there. It will teach us anything we want. It like I said, it's very chatty. That's what I mean by that. If we're here and if I really reach a dilemma in my life and I'm just like, oh God, I don't know what to do. Where do I go? All I do is meditate and I post the question and expect an answer, and I get it. And I positively proved that to myself when I was a teenager. And I was like, ooh, this works. You know, it's about love. The universe is all love. Yes. Talata taught me something. I'm going to read it to you. He wanted me to put it in the book. It's in the book. It's in the front of the book. And basically, it's his message to everybody here. He wants everybody to know this, okay? And it's an imperative. If you embrace this, you understand, okay? And let me find it. I have too many pictures. Here we go. All right. This is a direct quote from Talata. He made me write it down word for word. It's
from who?
Talata, the ship that indwells that I fly with. He is a fifth dimensional non-corporeal being, and he is very, very smart. And the title of it is Be Strong in Love. Love is what carries through. Love is what heals. Love is the strength of life. Love has no limit. Therefore, let love become who you are. Let love evolve to its fruition. Let the light that is love burn bright. Let its wisdom guide you to higher understanding. Let its power move you to teach its power to others. Love. Be strong in love. And that's the whole point of everything. Love carries through. We are love itself. We are absolute love itself. We are the highest, most esteemed creation of love. And our job here is to learn that and understand it and work together and be in consensus with one another and understand that they are us, we are them, and we are all one, all of us. There's no hate. There's no difference. We are all the same. And you're more productive that way. You learn more that way. Things become important to you, and then other things fall away because you start to mature in love and understanding. And that's where wisdom gets. And that actually becomes part of the energy that is you. You wear it like clothes and you take it with you. That's the only thing you take from here is wisdom and love. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
Dolly, I wish we had so much more time, and I hope you'll come back again in the near future. We've got 5 minutes left, and what's next for you? Where are we going to see you next? Are you good flying? What's going on?
I'm not flying. I'm grounded right now. I've got my biggest wish. You know, I have karma like everybody else, and I came here for a reason. I know that, and I want to fulfill why I'm here. I want to fulfill what my honor is to everybody here, but I also need to finish my life here because I plan not coming back. I'm done, thankfully, and I'm leaving, but I don't want to leave until I'm done. And I love this place. I love humanity. I love humans. I'm not happy about how we're all acting right now, but it doesn't diminish the experience, and I want to finish what I have to do. So I'm here until things happen. Yeah.
You, what a beautiful soul, what a beautiful being you are, Dolly. It's my life somehow has been made better for meeting you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you have a book? Do you have a book brewing in here that you think to get out?
There's another one that's going to be written. I'm going to let Preston author it, and it's important for me to. He is the best help to me ever. His abilities are off the charts. This is his destiny as well, and we're a good team. And I totally respect what he's capable of bringing forth in his writing, and he listens to me, and that's all I need. So yes, there's another book coming. Good. And I'm going to do videos too. So. Yeah.
So do you receive emails from fans, or how does that go for you?
I'm on Messenger. Okay, you can contact me there and expect an answer. I go through it every day, and I try to talk to everybody. Some things are harder for me to deal with than others with people, but I try. I at least come back. I have to sometimes meditate. Please don't think I'm not thinking of you or thinking of what you ask. It's just that I want to be sure that I expressly give you what is true, right, and real for you to understand. And I do that within a few days sometimes. Preston also gets messages for me too, and he relays them to me. And I'm making more friends. And on YouTube, I have a channel, Dolly Safran, and I have videos of different types of UFOs, and Talata is on there. They knew that I was determined to do this, and they gave me the opportunity to get him on film. So his videos are up as well. So.
Wow.
Oh, good deal. And I also, I know Preston Dennett wrote about you in one or possibly two of your books, and they are on Amazon. If you go to Amazon and put in Preston Dennett, what is the title of the books?
One is Onboard Encounters, and I'm one of them. I think I'm chapter 15, and then Symmetry, a true life adventure, and it has pictures and things like that. And those are the two. I want to press this. I want to give everybody a chance to understand something. Use your psychic ability. That's ET's number one reason for me speaking. Please learn to become more psychic. There's a tool. Russell Targ, who is a CIA operative, left this for everybody because he realized at the end of his time here that we need help. So it's called ESP Trainer. It's on the PlayStation Play Store. You can do it on your PC, your iPhone, and your Android. It's a very good tool. So do try.
Has he left us?
Yes, he's no longer.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, it broke my heart. Yeah. You can look up Russell Targ as well, but also Preston teaches OBE. He's got a book on out-of-body experiences, and he's almost finished writing the second one. So look for that to come because he's really good. I've done this naturally. It's a natural talent for me, and I never thought about teaching it. And I read his book, and I went, "Oh, there it is." So yeah, check that out.
We had him on a couple of times, and I mean, just bent my brain. He's so amazing. Now I'm looking on Messenger, and are you like one of the Dolly Safrans that doesn't have a picture, or how could we
it's
find
a picture of me and Preston, actually.
It is? Okay. All right. I'll find
Dolly, Safran, and it's me and Preston on the picture.
I gotcha. I found you. Okay. Yeah. Augie, you want to ask your question to Dolly?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many questions. You got to come back and visit again.
I will. Thank you.
But I love this question, and that is, I'm going to ask you, if you could talk to the whole world and the world is listening, what would you tell them?
Be free. Love yourself, heal yourself, and then move forward. Learn all that is learnable and then proceed. Do not let anybody tell you you're any different from anyone else. Do not let anyone take you down a peg. You are brilliant, masterful. You are a child of the universe and a child of everyone else. Be okay. Be free. That's what I would tell them.
Thank you. Dolly. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. So much love, Dolly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.